Oh, I thought I saw you. Question mark, question mark, question mark. Yeah, that's me. Okay, where's Bobby? Are you bringing praise on at all this week?
I asked her, I asked her to let me know which day she could do it. Rick said he's coming tomorrow, so I'll probably see if Praise can come
Rick's
tomorrow
coming on
or Friday.
To speak?
He's just going to share his experience.
Are you logging on?
Okay, so I should probably.
Oh my gosh, you hit live when I said that. Oh shoot, are you going to edit these?
Yeah, I can. Hold on, because we are live, I think.
Yep.
Let me go to Facebook. Learn to self-publish. Pull this up. We started early and then we just got chit-chatting and got...
oh yeah, sorry. I have that habit. Oh, you know another name we forgot is Holly.
Oh yeah.
I'll put down the list.
Holly. Yes. Holly. Yeah, I did. Did I forget to reach out to her? But I will. All right, I think we are live. Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Bobby says it's asking her to install Firefox, which is weird. Hey, everybody. Welcome back.
Welcome to night 3, day 3 of our 5-day challenge.
Yes. And if you want us to be able to see your in StreamYard, your name, then go ahead and use that StreamYard.com/Facebook and just give StreamYard permission. Otherwise, when we look at your comments, all we see is Facebook user in our StreamYard. And we're trying to monitor both. But I will also just post. Hi, Kevin. Hi, Peggy.
It makes it easier, and I find that it just makes it more personal who I'm talking to. So if I help answer one of your questions, right? Sarah's back. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Peggy.
Awesome. Welcome, guys. I'm going to try to set my slides up while we're waiting for others. I want to hear from all of those folks that were on yesterday, or you watched the replay, and you took the time to fill out your budget spreadsheets. Tell us, was it more or less than you thought? And if you're brave and you want to put the number down, we'd love to hear how did your budget spreadsheet come out? What do you think it's going to cost to publish your specific book?
April's doing a homework check.
Amen.
Okay, let's
usually
see.
You're the educator that usually does.
I know, that's why I was like, oh, she's doing it. I didn't check it. I'm curious how many of you fall into my category and went over, because you're just, you think outside the box and you came up with a whole bunch of different like marketing ideas that you want to try.
And it can't hurt also to give yourself a little bit of a contingency budget. Right. Growing, as a career, as a project manager, we always, estimated everything, and then we added a little contingency budget. And if we went over in one area, we'd pull it out of our contingency budget. If we ended up getting to the end and not having to use it, we paid it out for bonuses with the team. So I don't know, you can do something else with it. But maybe apply the extra towards marketing or something like that. So,
And again, with your first book, so if you continue on with self-publishing, the first one, it did cost me a little bit more, but now that I'm on my third, it is less.
Absolutely, because you do end up spending a lot more at the beginning. With some of the things like your booth setup and things that you typically are only going to do that first time. Buying 10 ISBNs will last you a few books at least. So then from there you can, you can go back and have to reinvest. But those kinds of things do take a little bit more budget up front.
I can tell you the new thing that I bought. That's awesome. I absolutely love it. Here's a plug for Costco. I bought their wagon that was finally in stock again for like Canadian, 119. But I love it. It just fits most. I only have to do 2 trips to my SUV now at my events versus 3 or 4 with my little cart.
I like that.
yeah, that was great. So my next purchase to do outdoor events, I'm going to have to buy one of those tents. So I keep waiting for one of them to go on sale, maybe on Amazon.
Mm-hmm. So Sarah says that, oh, where did it go? It was there just a second ago.
Oh, Sarah, I have how many books did you have to sell to make up what you've invested? So I'm still a newbie. I haven't made up a total yet, but remember, vastly went over budget. I'm making money now. So the first couple of months, because like April said, I was getting my feet wet. And honestly, I was choosing the wrong events. So I live in Toronto, which is like a metropolitan city. So I was choosing the events downtown because I thought, wow, which meant my event space was a lot more money. So I wasn't always covering the cost of my event space with what people were buying. So I've learned, right? So I've reflected, and now the places that I've chosen are way cheaper. I've always made at least 3 or 4 times as much as the event spaces cost, plus my mileage, if I include that too.
Right.
So yeah, it's taking me some time, but now I'm finally seeing like the return coming back. So
the other thing too is when you first launch your book, it's gonna take you 2 or 3 months to get the advertisement dialed in. For those people that are launching to Kickstarter because they want to raise the money for their books through Kickstarter. And gosh, we have a lot of people here that are from our previous work group. But Tanya, who launched on Kickstarter yesterday with her Nature Ninja series, her Nature Ninja book 1 in the series, funded on day 1, halfway through the day. She's funded, and now she's doing stretch goals and all of that. So when you do something like that, I know Sarah Catherine Frey is another one of my authors and team members here that has raised up to, I think it's just under $40,000 for 2 books that she's created. So that can make a huge difference. And that way, when you actually go publish, you're pretty much even by then, or you maybe even ahead, and you're able to buy some additional stock of books and things like that. So it really depends on the cost. We are going to go through some things today, talking about some of the things that we'll do with, how to save some money as well. So let me see if I can.
I love Anne. Anne's like, phew, she's still recovering from the number she plugged in last night.
Well, what was the number? Nobody shared anything, did they?
No, I haven't seen any numbers. I'm just watching the chat. Oh, hi, Tanya. Tanya's on.
Hey there.
Let's see. Sarah, the events I'm talking about. So I play on Instagram a lot, and I found a lot of like farmers markets or some of the craft events around where I live. And to be honest, again, I think I said this a couple of days ago. So if I don't make the profit back at one of my events, I always walk away with at least one new friend and a new like vendor. So but just by word of mouth, they've given me like different markets or event companies that they've used. And then I've looked on their websites and I just fill out like their vendor application. So that's how I find mine.
Right.
Let's see what else we've got. Oh, everyone seems to be buying the bundle of 10 for their ISBNs. I love it.
Good. That's a great way to save some money. I am trying to.
I don't see though anyone brave enough be that risk taker to put in.
I know
the balance.
I'm gonna do a giveaway so that as you guys are sharing numbers and sharing things through here, I'm gonna pick somebody that's being brave, and we'll do a giveaway at the end of the event.
I do. Someone's asking. I really do. I had an event. Was it 2 weeks ago? It was like the cutest little market. It was in right outside where they used to ski. I guess like a chalet that when we did have snow. I made a lot. I was really shocked, and I drove like over an hour to get there. Yeah, and I made like enough money to cover mileage and all the butter tarts and cupcakes that I brought home to my daughters and myself. I tend to shop a lot at the events, which is not always a good thing. But yeah, no, I find that we do. I'm pretty sure. I think Bobby said that she used to make money at markets like that too when she first started.
Right.
Again, April's advice is so true. I find like the more books you make, the more, the more your name gets out there, the more people are looking for your book. So the first one, gets you started. And then if you're going to make 2 or 3, like my third's almost done. And then hopefully by the time we start this new group, I will be working on my 4th, because I just love writing now in my pastime. When, I'm not working with April or working at my day job.
I am having some issues with these slides. So
well, I've got one brave soul. Thank you. I can't see your name because it just says on my side, Facebook user. It says that they're looking about $800. So, but not including advertising.
Okay.
That includes
is
the
that
ISBNs.
Is that any illustrations?
Oh, I'm not sure if this is the same one that responded after, because I apologize. Because again, all I can see is Facebook user. It says also some illustrating costs.
Okay. That's a very low budget amount. So I recommend that you make an appointment with me or with Vasi, and we'll share some links for you guys. And let's kind of walk through your budget thing together.
Oh, I love this one. Again, I apologize. It's because I can't see the name. It says that they're wishing to purchase 100 ISBNs.
Oh, nice. Good. I had one author actually purchase 1,000.
Really?
Yeah. Because I guess they figured out how much they would save and decided. So we're not, unlike you, we don't get the freebies. So
yeah. But there's a downside. Every time I have to, because the exchange gets me and our other Tanya, who was in our other group, I remember we would talk about that just for me. But that is a bonus. But I did run out. I think I applied for 15. And then when I was trying to get some more for my new book, I have already finished them. I thought, where did I spend them all? But I forget. One goes on the coloring, the activity book. One went on my teaching guide. One is on the ebook. One is on, the paperback, the hardcover. I started adding.
Right.
I was like, oh, I did. I've already spent that.
Mm-hmm.
Tanya, you're so right. The writing is addictive. And honestly, I just find it very therapeutic for me. So
that's good.
Okay, here's Simone. She's got a cost. So it looks about $7,500 for a Kickstarter. And she included 1,000 hard copies with that, with her offset printing. Or the cost without printing then goes to about $2,900.
Awesome. I'm expecting Bobby Hinman to join us today, but she's having some trouble connecting. So are you able to see my slides, Vasi?
I am, but can you press that magic button that just makes it the singles? Yeah.
Play.
So it's easier to read.
Okay, so we are in day 3 already. We started with kind of an overview of what self-publishing was. You learned a little bit about traditional versus hybrid versus self-publishing. You learned a little about predatory publishers and what to watch out for. We've also done, yesterday we focused a little bit more on the budget side of things. How much does it cost to move forward with self-publishing? I wanted you to know there is the link here on the slide, aprilcox.com/replay-dashboard. That is where you'll find, for those of you who have, are looking around for the documentation, the workbook that we're putting together, the spreadsheet that we're giving you for tools and templates, the link to the replays and all of that is all in that dashboard page. So go ahead and feel free to grab that link and you'll be able to get to it later. Okay, so we talked about how'd you do with your budget. We've got some things just to kind of talk about how can you stretch that dollar farther. So running a Kickstarter campaign, we talked about. DIY, like there are some things that you can do yourself, like, you don't necessarily need to hire a VA to do your admin work. If you can do it yourself, if you have more time than money, then you can DIY some things. You can manage the project to the best of your ability. You can do your own social media. Some people feel comfortable enough to pull their own website together and build their own email list, put their materials together. I was so impressed at what you did, Vasi, with your one pager that you put together. What was that? Was
my
that
price kit, you mean, or my school, or for my school sell sheet?
Yeah, that was really cool.
Okay.
So those kinds of things people can do themselves and save some money that way. Also, when it comes to editing, the more that your editor, especially for those longer books, if you've got, a novel, or you've got a middle grade and it's got a lot of words in it, if you do a really good job with your self-editing, and I'll have some videos to share with you guys where you can kind of get a little bit of coaching around self-editing and what you can do to prepare your manuscript for your editor. And if you take the time to do that, that can reduce the number of back and forth that you'll need to do with your editor, and that can save you some money. If you provide really good materials and things with your illustrator, that is going to help you improve the time it takes and the money that it takes to pull that stuff together. You can also you can do characters that are not quite as detailed or elaborate. If you're doing like a Disney Pixar style, it's obviously going to be much more expensive than more of like a 2D version of something. And even if you have the same style of book, but you decide, you know what, instead of having these really busy backgrounds, instead of having 8 kids on the playground, I'm going to focus on 3, and I'll have less things in the background to worry about. That can help bring the price of your illustrations down. So there are ways to do things like that to help you. Working efficiently with your illustrator. So providing characters and sample illustration styles that you like, letting your illustrator know what you're working with for a budget. They can also come back to you with some ideas on ways that they can also reduce the spending. So less effort. I'm not saying negotiate a lower price for the same work. I'm saying finding ways to reduce the complexity, reduce the level of effort, and still pay your illustrator for the great work that they're going to do for you.
April, sorry to interrupt. Bobby's just messaging me on the side. She says she's just waiting for you to let her in.
Okay, let me just hold on here. Oh, hey, Bobby.
Ta-da!
Hi, Bobby.
It only took me 15 minutes to figure it out.
Well, we're glad to have you. Let me finish this slide, and then we'll
Go ahead.
introduce you. I'm going to go back to where we are here. So we're talking about saving money, ways that you can help reduce the budget and the spending. So we talked about things like what you can do to do some more things yourself. Also, if you're going to do print on demand, then you have less money. You don't have to spend out of pocket versus, buying thousands of books like what I did for my first book. There are some times when that is warranted, but not always. And it is a way that you can save some money. If you have a mentor, somebody that's going to help you, it could be an author that's maybe further down the line than you, versus hiring a mentor. There are ways you can save things that way. What you don't want to skimp on is professional editing. Don't skip that. No. Bobby's going to talk more about that. Do your research. Really, don't skimp on the time that it takes for you to really research your niche, your competitors, your target audience. We're going to go into some of that later. Don't skimp on the quality of your illustrations. I've been sitting on some webinars, just kind of checking out what other people are doing. And one of them said, $5 illustrations, that's all you need. You go to Fiverr. I've got a handful of different guys you can go to. $5 illustrations per page. Don't do that. Please don't skimp like that. unless you're really doing something just for the fact of learning how to publish and you don't expect it to be a success, right? You just want to go through the process, then you don't want to buy a $5 illustration. It's not going to sell. It really is not going to sell. Cover design. You don't want to skimp on cover design.
No.
Get a really good quality cover. And the interior design and layout for your book is not a place to skimp. And spending time, whether it's with a mentor, with another author that knows how to do it, with setting up your keywords and categories and making sure that when you launch your book, it is positioned to get those organic sales, that you know what people are searching for. You've got that set up and ready to go. And marketing. But we are going to talk about more information about marketing in the coming day or two. So we're going to talk about a lot more things you can do yourself with marketing. But for now, I'm going to stop this and I'm going to, let me stop the share screen. Okay. And Vasi, I'm going to move you back and we're going to just have Bobby Hinman introduce herself a little bit here. I will start by saying how much I love this woman who is my partner in crime. We have done this author work group for years together. She is my forever editor. She's working on editing my self-publishing Made Simple book that's in progress. And she's the recipient of 28 picture book awards. High quality. She's been in this business a long time and is now an editor, as well as continues to put out amazing books. So Bobby, tell us a little bit more about you and what should these folks be thinking about when they think about the writing and editing part that they're going to be moving forward with soon?
They should realize in the beginning that no amount of marketing will sell a poorly written book or a poorly illustrated book or a book with a poor cover. So it's really wasting your money if you're just putting your money into marketing, and the time and the money really need to go into producing a really special book. I learned the hard way because I started in 2006, when probably most of you weren't born. And let me just back up a little. I started publishing traditionally with cookbooks. I had written 7 cookbooks and I had a traditional publisher. And each time the royalty checks came, which was every 6 months, I think, I would look at the paper and say, darn, but I didn't really say darn, but darn, look what I made and look what he kept. And I realized that my books were selling well, but I wasn't really reaping the benefits. So that, I mean, when I compared it to what he was getting. So a few years later, when I decided to write children's books, which were my first love since I was an elementary teacher, but that's going back further. I said, I'm going to do this myself. And in 2006, you were really a freak if you were self-publishing. So I really didn't get any help from anybody. I had to do it the hard way, figure it out myself. I wrote the story. I knew enough to have it edited. And that's only because I knew an editor. Otherwise, I don't know if I would have sought an editor. And then after I had it edited, she said, well, now it's time to have it illustrated. And then when I found an illustrator, which was difficult at that time compared to what we have today, after the illustration, she said, okay, I said, I still don't have a book. I have these illustrations. She's the one that said, okay, now you need a graphic designer. So that's how I learned the steps. And the graphic designer said, okay, now it's time to find a printer. So you're all so lucky today to have somebody like April to guide you through the whole process, because you don't have to invent it yourself. It's been done. I made a lot of mistakes along the way. I talk about them a lot in my first book. And so that's how I got to where I am today. I wrote uh, 6 children's books that have won a bunch of awards. My latest book is How to Master the Art of Writing Children's Books. And in here is everything that you need to know to write a children's book and do a good job. I have a chapter on just about anything you can think of when it comes to the writing process.
Yeah, I highly recommend grabbing this book if you don't have it already. Maybe Vasi, you could take that information and put a link out on the chat. That would be fantastic.
I've come across people who say, I don't need an editor because my daughter is getting A's in her college English courses. She's going to edit the book for me. My answer is, how many children's picture books has she edited? Oh, well, she can do that.
Right.
But my nephew is really bright. He could do it. You don't want anybody else to edit it other than a professional editor, because you will get what you pay for. And the time to edit this is so important. The time to edit is after, the time to edit is before, sorry, scratch that. The time to edit is before the illustrations. And the reasons are really obvious. You can't really edit around an illustration. So you really have to get the story the way it belongs, have a professional editor, developmental editor, make sure that the story works, that there's an arc to your story, which is, if you don't know what that means, that's explained in my book, that your dialogues for the characters are all the way they should be, that your characters are the way they should be.
Yeah, this is a great segue for us to be able to go to the next slide here. So today is day 3. We've gone through day 1 and 2. The next couple of days, we've got more keys to success. On day 4, we've got actionable steps and things that you can be doing immediately to get yourself closer to publishing. And that's going to be the final day. I'm going to invite a couple of people to say hello. Bring in Praise Saffler, who is the designer. I've invited a couple of different illustrators, a couple of authors that have worked with us to talk a little bit about their experience. So let us know in the chat as we're moving forward here, what things that you would like to cover as well. So I want to start here with we talked about the writing. Writing is kind of where you've begun with your book, whether it's a children's book or it's a adult manuscript, it doesn't matter. You're going through the drafts, the self-editing, finding that editor and submitting. Any more comments on the writing piece of it, the self-editing, Bobby, before we so I'm going to walk through the different steps that of self-publishing, give that little high-level overview, and also provide some things where they can dig deeper in from the workbook.
Just the reminder that beta readers are not editors. It's nice to have a few adults read your book and comment. They're looking at it from a consumer point of view, not a professional point of view. So they're not your editors, but listen to what they have to say, and then you talk to your editor about it. One of the most important things to do is to find a focus group of children in your target age group and read your story to them and get their feedback. And
I so agree. My 6-year-old granddaughter has become my favorite junior editor these days. She's been amazing.
Yeah, they have crystal clear imaginations. They know what they like, and they know what is wrong with the story. I had a 7-year-old change the last line of one of my books, and she was right. It was much better her way.
Yeah, so, and they're also very honest. There's no filter.
They are.
So if something looks weird or doesn't sound right, they will tell you.
That's right. If you ask your mother to read it and your sister-in-law and everybody else, they don't want to hurt your feelings. Or maybe it's just the opposite. Maybe they don't like you and they're going to tell you it's terrible. So you really want to get out of the family and professional editor, 2 or 3 beta readers, and a focus group, and you're there.
So tell us now about the next step here. Your manuscript is done. You, many of them are just, holding on for dear life. They don't want to let it go to their editor. What do you say about, does it have to be perfect? What condition does the manuscript need to be in to then pass it on to an editor?
It needs to be in a readable format, and it needs to tell your story, and it doesn't have to be perfect. You can make notes. You should make notes to your editor. I'm trying to get this lesson across. I'm hoping that it says this. So we know exactly where you're headed in case it isn't clear in the story. And then let it go. Let them look at it. Most editors will look at it and be honest about it and say, I think this needs some more work. I recommend that you do such and such.
Right.
And when you do hire an editor, make sure you know what kind of editing you will be getting.
I was just going to ask you that. There's different types of edits. Could you comment on what kind? Should we be looking for one kind of edit versus another? How does that work?
There's line editing, which is mostly correcting sentence structure and grammar. There's copy editing, which is mostly punctuation and sentence structure from the punctuation and that kind of thing. I don't want to go into too much detail here because it'll get confusing. A lot of people confuse the two or do the two together, copy and line editing, because they all have to do with just the words that are on the page. But you need a developmental edit for a children's book. And that's the editor that tells.
Yeah, tell me what goes into a developmental edit.
Well, the developmental edit, first, make sure that your story has a definable beginning, middle, and end, which forms the story arc. There should be dialogue in a children's book, but not too much dialogue. So that has to be regulated. Your characters all have different voices. They're different people. So that is something that the developmental editor will work on. And it's just a matter of pulling the whole story together and making it work, making it flow from beginning to end, not just choppy. Which brings up something else. When you're getting everything in line for the editor, don't number your pages. Don't segment it.
Don't paginate it yet. Let the words get done first.
Yeah, it is in time, because the first thing I do is take the numbers away so that I can just rearrange the story if it needs to be rearranged. And that's another reason why you don't want illustrations. And then at the end, what I do, and a lot of editors do, a comprehensive edit. So I'll do the developmental edit first. And then when the story is the way it flows and I send it to the author and they say, that's it. Okay. Then I go back and I correct all the grammar and the spelling and do the rest of it. So what you get is a finished product that's ready to go on to the illustrator.
And if you have a rhyming story like I did, then make sure that the editor you're using has a really good grasp of rhyme and meter. Because if you do not, you are going to hear about it in your reviews. Absolutely. People are passionate about rhyming.
Absolutely. For some reason, people seem to feel that a rhyming story is the best. And when I say to them, gee, this story, I feel like you have more to say, but it wouldn't fit the rhyme. So let's rewrite it in prose. They go, oh, no, prose, I want rhyme. But poor rhyme, it doesn't work.
Right.
Good prose is beautiful. And so if rhyming isn't your thing, don't try and force it and think you're settling for something less if you have to go to prose, because prose is beautiful. Almost everything is written in prose. If you are able to rhyme, And there are 4 chapters on rhyming meter and how to do that in my book. But if you do plan on rhyming, make sure that your editor has understands rhyming and has done a good share of rhyming stories.
Yeah, when I chose to rhyme, I didn't know what I didn't know back then. Not only did I, syllables, I was counting syllables and I didn't get the beat and the rhyme. But the other part of it too is that when it came time to translate the book, you're not translating the book into
Yes.
in something that rhymes, right?
Right.
And so you're missing out. You could be missing out on a valuable source of income with being able to translate your books into other languages and having them be sold. The international rights can be sold based on, but they don't usually like to purchase rhyming books because of their issues with translation.
And I learned that part the hard way because I've been a rhymer since I was born rhyming, and I can rhyme, but nobody can translate my books because they rhyme. So
right.
But
so now we're going to go over to the illustration side of the world. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring Vasi back because Vasi was just an amazing, we'll have all 3 of us here. Vasi, this is book number 3 that you're working on. And I was really impressed with what you were doing and how you worked through the illustration process. Would you mind just giving us a little bit of insight into what's worked really well for you?
Sure. So for the first 2 books that I had, I used the same illustrator. So this was new learning for me. So I chose a different one because the 3rd book isn't part of the series that Bobby the magician there edited for me as well. So no, this one, so picking illustrators. So I went through April's list and I had a particular idea of how I wanted Ollie, my little otter, to look. So I emailed, I reached out to, I think it was 4 illustrators this time. I found one new illustrator on my own that I just off social media. So I emailed them just asking, the price of how much it would cost to do the sample and, when they were reasonable. So then I sent them my illustrator briefing. And then I sent them each a specific part of the story that I wanted illustrated just to see, so I could compare. And I did, and I received all of them back. And then I looked, and I always choose the one that speaks to me. And then I did send it to April and Bobby to see if they did agree with me. Just, they're my mentors, so I do the check-in. But then we agreed on the pricing. We agreed on the timeline. I used the contract that April has in the resource library that she's created for the class. And I updated that. And now I'm almost done. So she's been working on it. We have the communication. So I find with my illustrator, I'm a big communicator and I need that. So this particular lady that I'm working with now, she's great. She shares all her updates on a Google slide. So I get to see and she asks. And it was great because I was going through it at the same time as our work group. So I was getting feedback from them too when I was unsure or I just wanted, to see what other people thought.
Isn't that one of the best parts of having a community like that where you get to open up your email and find these illustrations or a new cover design, and you get to bring that out to the rest of the group and everybody oohs and ahs over it. You get feedback. It's so much fun to see everybody's project coming to life together.
No, I loved it. And then again, because it's not my first time, I reached out to Praise just because I was a little concerned just about certain colors because I am a bit of a perfectionist. So I met with Praise just before, she gets the final files just to make sure everything's good in case the illustrator had to do anything else, to prep for the graphic designer.
Yeah. And and Praise, for those that don't know, haven't heard that name yet, Praise is our graphic design
guru. Oh, April's frozen. Bobby, are you there too?
I'm here. Praise is our guru, our graphic design guru for sure. She has a team that is incredible.
So
April
I
Cox.
trusted her. Yeah. So I met with her for a quick, like 15-minute online call, and I just shared with her my concerns and we worked through it. Yeah.
Mhm.
So now I'm just waiting for the final files. I'll get it. I'm super excited again to see it coming through.
Yeah. So I want to just back up for one moment and just make some comments on the illustration side of things. When you are first starting with an illustrator, if you are not using My List and there are other places you can find an illustrator. I would recommend, going into children's book author groups. There's author illustrators there, asking other authors for feedback, or recommendations. You can also go to the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, SCBWI. That is another really good source for illustrators. I have an amazing list that I've built over time. So you can get some really good illustrators. What you want to make sure is that you are giving them enough information so that they can truly give you the best quality work, and that you're talking the same language. So when we talk about things like a storyboard is just like little, very rough sketches that like thumbnails from beginning to end of all of your illustrations. So you get to look at those and see the way that they're visualizing the structure of your pages, how the story's going to go from beginning to end. If you happen to be talking to an illustrator and talking about their process and they don't do storyboards, they're probably not at the level of an illustrator that you would want to work with. So ask those questions, because if people are going with one illustration at a time and then they're coloring it, then you're going to the next one, and you're not getting that full picture beginning to end, how your story is going to flow, how it's going to look, actually being able to see in those rough sketches how the page turns are going to be, it is going to make it very hard, and you're going to end up having to go back and do a lot of rework. So that's one thing I wanted to bring out. Also, when you're communicating with your illustrator, it's important for you to say things like, the character is a 6-year-old girl with dark hair and dark eyes. Her ethnicity is Asian. She is spunky, or she's shy. So you communicate the details, communicate the setting, let them know what it is that they're supposed to be pulling together. And if you have sample images that you can also share, like for example, one of the authors that I had that had put together an illustration brief, which is, it's your manuscript with all of the illustrator notes, the notes to the illustrator about what you want. So she said, it's going to be a farmer's market. Well, a farmer's market in India looks very different than a farmer's market in Texas or in Rhode Island. So by having some sort of a sample and showing, like, this is what I mean when I say farmer's market. This is what I mean when I say a colonial looking house. Because the illustrators are all over the world. We want to make sure that they understand and they see what we want, rather than only realizing after they give us what we don't want, right? So try to plan ahead. That's going to save a lot of time and a lot of money as well.
Yeah, when I was sent, once I chose the designer that I wanted to go with, and I did send like a lot of clip art, or kind of like I wanted Ollie the otter to look like this, or I'm thinking back as soon as you said that, April, that was so true. In my first book, there was a school, and again, just trying to communicate what schools look like, I guess the way I
Right.
wanted them to look. So I sent, I quickly Googled, brick school, the fence, because where I live, we have like a kindergarten area that's usually like with a little fence.
Mm-hmm.
And when she drew it for me, it was great, but the fence was really tall, and I just had to communicate. It just had to be a little lower, like to where the kids are. But yeah, I love sending. Like, I find that just aids the communication, and it just helps things go a lot quicker when you're sending like the little pictures for them to understand what you've written them to draw for you.
Yeah. And I love what you were talking about, Vasi, where the interaction of bringing that graphic designer in early. I like to bring the graphic designer to do a consult when I get the storyboard, because they're going to look at it and go, well, wait a minute, there's no room for text over here. And the way that this is laid out, gee, if we switched it and we do this, then that's going to make the best of both worlds. So they have a graphic designer has a totally different eye of looking at things. They understand the value of white space, the way things will be laid out, how they can and cannot arrange the text. So having just a brief consult to provide at a critical juncture information back to the illustrator can prevent a whole bunch of rework later. So take that opportunity to introduce or bring in your graphic designer early, even if it's just for a 20-minute consult. And that's usually all it takes. And then we go to formatting, right? When your text is done, it's all, you've gone through the whole process. We went through copyright, you're done. You've got all of your illustrations done now. So your designer is going to take both of those, put them together, and create that beautiful book for you, beginning to end. And what comes out as their output from that is the actual files you're going to upload to Amazon. So that's what we talk about with formatting. And that includes the design of your cover. Some people choose to do a cover that is completely unique. Some will save money. You can save a couple $100 if you decide, I'm just going to pick one of the interior images and use one of those for the cover. So we go through all that. And then the last bit here is the publishing. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't say every single step of the way, from beginning to end, you are doing some planning for the next phase that's coming. You're preparing things so that you can move forward, and you're marketing all the way through. How can you market all the way through? Well, you've written a book. You're here because you've written a book, or you're in the process of writing a book. Tell people. Let them know you've written a book. Let them follow your journey. Share. If you get a first sample from an illustrator, you can put that online. People want to follow. People want to be there for you. And they're very interested in what you're doing, because more than 80% of the people out there want to be doing it too. But only 1 to 2% of you are ever going to get it done. So they want to be part of that. You can also be building relationships. You can be doing other things. And there's a lot. We're going to talk much more about this when we get into the last day, day 5. Any other comments on this slide, ladies? The beginning to end. Do we see any questions out there in the Facebook group, Vasi?
No, just a lot of compliments for Bobby.
A lot of compliments for Bobby. Bobby, you really need to be showing some of the beautiful books that you've created, because that's just so stunning, the types of things that you've put together.
Well, thank you. It's kind of hard to show them. Are they backwards on when we do it on?
I don't think so. You're gonna try to hold up a book?
I'm going to try to hold up my Christmas book.
And it's perfectly fine.
Right.
So I saw Santa's Underpants did amazingly well this past Christmas, didn't it? It was awesome.
Bestseller status in pre-orders.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a new book coming out. I sent you a cover picture, April.
Oh, you did. Yes, you did. I saw that.
Talk about sharing and spreading the word. This is the book that's coming out for Christmas. Probably in August or September.
Oh, the new one, Bobby?
My new one, yeah.
I'll pre-order it now.
Okay.
Just as we're just going forward, April, sorry, all the chat, there are some more questions now.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, while I pull this up, feel free to go ahead and do that.
Is it possible to change any details to illustrations after the book is formatted?
Yes, but it's not wise. I would highly recommend that you catch things in the storyboard phase that don't exactly come together the way you want. If not, then they're gonna go through sketching. Then they're gonna take very rough sketches to more detailed sketches. That's plenty of opportunities to go back and rework or without a lot of effort. By the time you get to color, the changes should be things like the skin tone's a little too dark over there, or a little too light, or the hair color's a little off. It shouldn't be, let's change the whole composition, right? Because you're wasting a lot of time, and your illustrator would be perfectly within their rights to say, I have to go and now redo another image. It will cost more money. And then, of course, it could also put your project, add months to your project sometimes when these kinds of things happen because of lots of changes. And I have seen it where I've seen somebody come back from an illustrator, this is version 13. Is this one right? Like, don't do that to your illustrator. Mm-hmm. You want to have a really great relationship with the people that you're working with. And if you're doing that kind of stuff, it's going to be really hard. That illustrator is not going to want to work with you again. You can absolutely do it. And one really good thing that I love about working with Praise Saffler and her team is that they know how to go into Photoshop and make those tweaks and changes. My contract that I put together requires that the illustrator delivers source files with layers intact. So if there's a slight tweaking to something, or zoom in or zoom out to make more room for something, Praise and her team can go in and take care of that without ever having to go back to the illustrator. If there's a slight color tweak, those things are easy. So that's a good thing, having that kind of thing together. Tanya says, Praise is the pro at this. Yes, absolutely. I can't wait to have her come and visit, and you guys will get to meet her as well.
And there's one more from Sarah. So are you reading to the focus group before it gets illustrated?
That's you can read without. So Bobby, I love how you describe what you do with kids.
Yeah.
When you have no pictures. Tell us a little bit how you do that.
I've always, for all of my books, I did my focus group without any illustrations. I gather my kids together, my daughter's neighborhood kids, and I promise them ice cream if they'll tell me the truth at the end. And they sit around, and I say, okay, now close your eyes and picture this fairy. It's a little boy fairy this time, and he's wearing jeans, and we work on their imagination. And once they've pictured him, I said, I can read them the story, and they have a picture of him in their minds. Sometimes if I can find something on clip art that looks good, I'll just hold it up. But they don't need it. They love storytelling. And if they can get the whole gist of it from what you're saying, they will give you their honest feedback. If something is missing, you'll find out from the kids. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But at that point, you haven't illustrated yet. So if you wait until you've illustrated and you read it to them and they tell you there's something wrong, and they're always right when something's wrong, it's too late. So do it in the right order. Mm-hmm. And you can gather these kids together at any time. And if you don't have neighborhood kids or you don't have grandkids, you can go to the library. Almost every library has reading day on Saturday, story time. They're happy to let you come in and read. I worked with a kindergarten teacher. Excuse me. I went to her class every time I had another story, and she used it as a lesson for the kids.
Yes.
And they helped. They were just a major help to me, and they think they're very important, at age 5 when you're asking for their, feedback. Mm-hmm. They're willing to be, especially the girls, they get very bossy about it, and they tell you should do this and you should do that. And they're usually right.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I'm going to mention something to you guys ahead of time, that because there's a couple of collaborators that I have that I'm actually looking forward to doing some really cool things with, getting kids writing. And if you haven't seen my Rise of Kid author series, it's a lot of fun. And there's, kids are writing, kids are publishing, and we've been able to do that. Well, I'm going to announce it here, but there's going to be some things coming up for kids, and there's going to be an ability for a child author to get published. It'll be the first time I publish under Little Labradoodle Publishing for an author. There's going to be a contest. There's going to be a summer thing coming. So just give you guys the skinny on that before anybody else knows. And I've got a couple of collaborators that are going to help me, and we're going to do some scholarships. It's going to be amazing. And kids are good at writing and coming up with these stories. So it's going to be so much fun. And I know Bobby will be there to help me with it too.
Oh, yes.
All right. So I'm going to I did get your image up. Bear with me.
I did put the link, and then thank you. I believe it was Sarah. So I put it in the chat, but I'm not sure why it did pop up, but Sarah did as well for Bobby's book. So thank you, Sarah, for doing that.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Let me just remind you that this is a picture book for adults.
Oh, your new book? Yes.
This is not a children's book.
Yes.
Well, it's great too if you don't have like kids around you, as Bobby was saying. So if you do join the group, there's a whole bunch of us that have access to kids. I know one of the ladies in our other group, I've been bringing some of the stories to my school, and I've been getting feedback for some of our authors from the last group, and it's fun. I'm just seen as the lady with all the stories that comes in now. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, that is wonderful. I'm not having good luck here, guys. I'm sorry. I'm still learning how to do the StreamYard thing, and I've got a couple of monitors open, and it's like almost impossible to figure. Oh, I got it. Okay. I'm getting a little lost, but bear with me. So we've got Mrs. Claus here. Mrs. Claus has menopause. Bobby, tell us about Mrs. Claus and what's going on in this book. I can already think of a dozen people I want to give this book to.
This is a story that I say is for your friends of a certain age, or for the moody friends in your life. Mrs. Claus is going through menopause. She has hot flashes, and she's going through everything that the rest of us have gone or are going through. I polled my friends and said, give me some juice here. What can I talk about? And one said, oh, you got to talk about hair falling out. And another said, oh, you got to talk about the hot flashes. So I did it all. And it's in rhyme, of course, because that's what I do. And it's funny. And it's just a light, funny Christmas story.
Yeah, we're hearing laughing, and what a brilliant title, and everybody, I can definitely see this one selling a lot over the Christmas season. Maybe we'll do a Christmas in July thing this year, or somewhere shortly after that. So this is so much fun. I mean, you're not getting help from people who are, not publishing books ourselves. We are doing this for ourselves. We're doing it for the group together. And it is just amazing. And I mentioned this yesterday as well, 127 books together as a team last year. It was just amazing to see. Great. We've got this down. There's a dream team here for you. You can bring your own people too. But if you want to use the people and everything all works together, it's a very cohesive way of doing things. When praise works on files, they're stored in a central location I have access to. When the illustrators give the files to praise, they all get loaded centrally. We're able to really work off of each other, and we've got this thing perfected. So if anybody can get you published in 12 weeks, and Vasi, you got through this last one in
I
12 weeks.
I did.
Sue Elias came up with an idea based on Bobby's book. I Saw Santa's Underpants. She got that. She got a bit of a kind of an idea, and we were 3 or 4 weeks into the work group when she came up with the idea. All of a sudden, the book was written, and we finished that group with that going to print. So it was just amazing to see how these things come together, especially with some of the illustrators that are in this one. Tell us who you worked with for this book, Bobby.
I worked with Praise and Sean, and we designed this cover one night. You get to design with Praise and Sean because we do it on Zoom. They're in India, I'm in Florida, so we pick a time, early morning or late night, where we can all get
Oh yeah,
together.
the design team is in the Philippines.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the Philippines. Yeah.
Mhm.
So we were able to try. We took this picture from the book.
Mhm.
The illustration was in the book, and then we were able to. I was able to sit there and watch as they tried every color background until I said, I like that one. Let's keep the blue
Right.
one.
I love that.
And
I
we
love the
tried-
magic of seeing it come together.
Yeah, we tried different fonts, and they're so easy to work with.
Mhm.
Praise
Yep.
and Sean, and they have such a good sense of humor. And then Praise is the one who looks at it at the end and says, no, something is missing right there on the left. We need something. And so she opened another page, took some Christmas packages off and stuck it there on the left side. She said, okay, now we got it.
Right, right. Yeah, it's
So
amazing.
she really has an eye for it. She really does.
And if you're interested in checking out some of the designs, both interior and cover designs, check out praisesaffler.com. You can see there that you can set up an appointment with her for a 20-minute consult for free. You can also see the cover designs, the interior designs. I mean, her team is just incredible. So you have an opportunity to see the portfolio right online. And, she's part of our extended team here. We've built out not only the team in the Philippines, but we also have Sarah Catherine Frey, who is in St. Louis doing design. Also, Tammy Lempert, who is in Israel, and who am I missing? Holly. Holly Moore also has been doing some design as well. And I can't remember where Holly's from, but we have just an amazing team. We continue to grow the team and continue to learn and serve and work together as one cohesive unit.
And it's exciting that we have men joining us now. We started out without any testosterone in the group, but now we've got men joining all the time.
Yeah, I saw Kevin's out there too. Kevin wrote his book with his grandson, and the Snake in the Hardware Store, I think is what it was called. That one just launched just a short while ago, right after the group finished. So Kevin was right on track to doing everything that he needed to do within that period. We've got lots of Tanya. I see Tanya out there. By the way, Tanya, congratulations. I cannot believe how quickly her Kickstarter launched yesterday, and not even halfway through the day, and I got a message. Can you believe it? We made our goal already. The first, the Kickstarter goal. Check out on Kickstarter because there's going to be amazing additional rewards and things going on. Check out Nature Ninja on Kickstarter.com. Follow along and see what Tanya is doing. Back her project, share her project, because if you even in the slightest want to make sure your audience and your people understand what Kickstarter is, the best way to do that is to share other people's campaigns and explain to them what's going on and that you're backing these campaigns and what it's all about. That will help you so that when it's your turn to do a Kickstarter campaign and crowdfund your book, your audience will already understand what it is. And I see we have Sue Elias She was mentioning, because I mentioned her book. She gave the title of the book, Sweet Dreams of Christmas, Sue. Yep, that was the amazing, I think, 8 or 9 week project that turned into her first book. And I'm happy to say, how many books, Vasi, you're her mentor now. How many books is she doing this year? All at once? We've got.
I was going to say all at once. So we talked about 3 today.
Mm-hmm.
She's already got the Clumsy Chicken. There's 2, so 5.
Clumsy Chicken, the Clumsy Elephant.
Yeah. So now we've got the reindeer one. I don't want to say the titles out loud. I don't know if she wants me to spoil it or not.
Forget I said that.
No, that's okay. So I know 5 off the top. I know because she's been picking my brain for different ideas. So I know there's going to be at least like 3 more coming to Bobby's way after these 3.
Yeah, amazing. That's one of the things that I will tell you, that danger, beware. It is addicting. Publishing is addicting, and it's so much fun. And when you see those little faces and you hear from kids that just love your book, or teachers, when lessons are being learned and dreams are coming true for families, and there are missions and ministries being propagated with all of these things that we're doing, I just think it's fabulous, and it is so addictive, and we're loving it. And I think that's why I have so many of my authors that I worked with coming back to me and saying, how can I be a part of this group too? That's what happened with Vasi. That's what happened with Sarah and Holly. They all started as my students, and now they're mentoring and helping other authors do the same. So I think we're past the hour. Are there any other questions and things that we wanted to still have left to answer?
Nope. I've been watching it. I think we're pretty good.
Well,
I just got really excited when Bobby's cover went on. There were a lot of
I know. It's wonderful. Yep. 6 total, Sue here says 6 total books so far.
Yeah.
And one other person's commenting, wow, I thought 1 a year was a big goal. Yeah, I mean, I've got a couple of other authors. One author last year that did 5 books, and this year is targeting 8 books. And, once you get that going and you learn how to do this, and you've got, your team comes together and everything clicks, it makes it that much easier, because sometimes we're giving like 3 books at a time to an illustrator or an illustrator group, and they're taking them and running with them. And so you have an opportunity that you're not just releasing 1 book at a time. You're doing, you can very quickly build a series, because the best way to sell 1 book is to write another one, and then another one, and then another one. And once you've got that platform and people discover one of the books that really speaks to them, what I know, the first thing I do is go and see what else does that author has the author written, because I want to start buying some of those books as well.
Well,
it's called self-publishing, but don't try to do it yourself.
That's true. Well, I was going to say, I like timing my books with when we're doing a group, because it makes me accountable. So I know where I'm supposed to be when I follow along with everybody else.
Yeah. And you're doing it together. And, I think that the impact of that really hit me most when we were doing in 2020. We had 2 work groups that year. COVID, everybody was isolated, and people came out of the woodwork and said, I need a connection. I can't work, or I'm not working. I'm home. My kids are home. What can I do for me? And a lot of people brushed off manuscripts and started working on them. And it was just amazing to see everybody coming together, laughing and having fun. And one of my authors said, this is my time. Like, I tell my husband, if the kids get up for water or whatever, you take care of it. This is me time. I'm doing this for myself. And that's just amazing. And the friends that build when you go through such your dream comes true with a group of other people that are also doing it, the bonds that are created over that are just incredible. I've seen year-long, multi-year friendships developing from that. And still people go from the regular groups, then they join the mastermind, and then we're all still getting together and meeting and sharing information and learning together, because you don't ever stop learning. Everything, just when you think you know it all, something new comes up. They just introduced AI stuff, right? We're learning AI stuff now. So it will be an ever changing, ever growing, ever learning process, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So regardless, so I'm going to give you guys an opportunity to just say some final words before we let everybody go. I know we're running a little over again today.
Bobby, you want to go first?
All I can say is that you can do it. There's a plan now. I struggled for so many years. I wish I could go back or move forward in time, to be able to be a part of a group like this. But if this is your dream, this is the way to do it. You have help all around you.
Yeah. No, I piggyback on that. And honestly, it's just something I've fallen in love with. It was supposed to be, something I did a little bit later. And as April said, it's addicting. And now I feel like the ideas are just flowing. I'm constantly writing them down. And then, when that spark hits me to turn it into into a story, I do it. Yeah. I encourage you to follow your dreams.
Thank you, everyone. Continue to post your questions. We'll monitor the Facebook group. More information tomorrow. I do have a special guest that's going to be joining us tomorrow. Rick Williams wrote his first epic fantasy with a grandchild, and he's going to share a little bit of his experience and how that worked out. We are just getting ready to publish his book, and he just finished that in in this past group. So he'll be able to share a little bit there, and I will try to get Praise also to come in either tomorrow or certainly on Friday. We're going to be talking more about tips and tricks and things that you want to focus on for keys of success tomorrow. And then the final, we're going to talk about the marketing and the things that you can do today, right now, whether your book is ready to go publish or not. There are things you can be doing to start preparing and taking giant steps forward, even before you're ready to move forward with your edit, or if you're ready to sign up for this work group. I'll be telling you more about that on day 5. And then we'll open the cart over the weekend so that anybody that wants to grab their slot early, because they do fill up really fast. Last time we had 35 in 2 sessions. We did an afternoon and an evening session, and it filled up really fast. So we want the people that are going through the challenge to have an opportunity to grab their slots before we open it up to others. All right. So thank you all. Have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you all tomorrow.
Night.
Night, everybody.